My dear beloved children, well, we have considered two components of the inner state of man, energy and physical ones. So, now, let us see how they influence human psychic state. If we treat human psyche as a totality of their energy and physical state, it is then totally dependent on their harmonious correlation with each other. There becomes apparent the following sequence. Negative thoughts and emotions interfere with the work of subtle sense organs of a person, their chakras, which in its turn leads to diseases of the physical body organs that are supervised by these chakras. As a result, the person's psyche is affected. Beside physical discomfort, there arises psychological discomfort that prevents them from living a full and happy life. Occasionally it is possible for the energy disbalance not to become apparent at the physical level for some time, but at the intuitive level one already starts feeling something is wrong and gets depressed. In some cases one cannot explain the reason for this inner discomfort even to oneself. As a matter of fact, this is how one's soul is trying to get through. Make one analyze one inner state, understand what caused this discomfort. If one lends a careful ear to one's soul and starts to unwind the clue of one's thoughts and emotions that allowed an energy virus into the subtle bodies, one can turn the process back, removing the cause of the psychological problems that arose. While if one continues to go with the stream and search for the reasons for the regrettable condition in the external world, it can just make the situation aggravated and can provoke not only physical disorders but mental one as well. Never forget about the fact that it is the energy component that is the starting point of this or that kind of your inner state development. If you are unbalanced in terms of energy, that is, your chakras work inconsistently or chaotically, it will inevitably result in faulty physical and psychic state. That is why, my dear, please, if you feel even a slightest wormhole in your inner state, do not let it take its course but stop and analyze the events of the previous days so as to understand what was the trigger mechanism of such a state. Only a mindful approach like this to the smallest nuances of your life will allow you to keep balance between the energy, physical and psychic components of your inner state and, consequently, to maintain peaceful relationship with yourself and the world around you. Today I would like to talk about the correlation of human conscience and the inner state of man and what they differ and what features of theirs are like. The difference is that conscience is a subtle material substance that embraces one worldview and determines one's spiritual potential, while inner state is one world perception in all its manifestations including the physical one. In other words, inner state is a combination of three components: energy, physical and psychic, that indirectly correlate to human conscience. Each of them is connected with human conscience but in its own way, featuring some peculiarities. And now we will study each of them. We will start with the energy aspect that is the closest to conscience, since it is energy nuance of one's thoughts and emotions that actually defines the level of one conscience. The higher the level, the more mindful one attitude is to everything that occurs in one life, which increases one's vibrations and, consequently, brings one inner state to harmony. So, pure high vibration conscience makes direct influence on the most important energy component of the inner state of man. And, as you know, it is this component that influences one's physical and psychic aspects as well. There is also a more subtle, but not less important at that, correlation between conscience and the physical component of the inner state of man. It is based on the principle that the body as a physical medium of any living being possesses a conscience of its own that is directly linked to the Creator. It is hard for you to perceive this link so far because it is beyond comprehension of the third dimension world man, but it is this link that all methods of healing are based on in high dimension worlds. Each organ of your body features a certain divine code, and getting connected to this code it is possible to regenerate, that is, rejuvenate it. This is exactly what the medicine of future will be based on when humanity will ultimately move to the fifth dimension world. As far as the psychic component of the inner state on man is concerned, It is rather closely connected with one conscience because it is directly dependent on the impulses of reality perception generated by it. In this case, the influence made on human psyche is produced both from above and beneath. It is influenced from above by conscience that has reached this or that level of its development, and from beneath by the energy and physical component of one inner state. In ideal, all of them should have one vibration frequency, but, unfortunately, as long as you find yourself in the third dimension world, it is almost impossible to achieve because of the numerous internal and external factors affecting you all the time. And only in the unipolar world of the fifth dimension, your chakra system, this divine rod your physical body is threaded on, will reach a complete equilibrium, as a result of which your conscience and inner state will remain in harmony with each other. Unfortunately, most people are unaware of how their inner state correlates with surrounding reality, which also includes their relationships with different people. They live not thinking about the extent their own unbalanced, disharmonious condition influences their close people, friends and colleagues. Thus, one person obsessed by negative thoughts and emotions can ruin the energy carcass of all the team and even that of the whole nation or a country if such people are numerous. Each of you initiates a chain reaction of energy processes, and their contents determine your present and your future. Most often these processes are invisible since people have learned to hide their emotions and true motives of their behavior. But now, when Earth has already entered the zone of high vibration energies, everything comes in the raw, both good and bad, and the process will be gaining in scale. Quite soon people who have managed to advance to the level of vibrations same as Earth will start seeing the true essence of every living being. It will look like they are trying to hide their nakedness with nice gestures and words, but these clothes in the light of new energies become transparent, losing its texture and density, and such a creature appears as they are being sometimes quite unattractive to the people around. And the sooner you learn to bring your inner state to a balance, the sooner these times come. You are turning to energy torches that will be highlighting every dark corner on your Earth, forcing out of there all the creatures who have become the ballast for your planet and who, being unable to move to a new dimension with her themselves, are trying to pull along with them the ones who are striving to get there with all their heart. Therefore, my dear, please, take earnestly indeed the purification of your energy space, and do not neglect the easy practices I offered you. I know that it is not easy, and the inertia to follow the habitual course is great while going with the stream of the third dimension world you know so well and sticking to its patterns and programs. But it is time for drastic changes, and you already know, my dear, that a new reality is based on your new inner aspirations and is their reflection. That is why it depends on each of you how fast these changes will occur, and they will be just same as the energies you will imbue them with. Remember that each pure soul on Earth is worth its weight in gold, and it can overwhelm with its light thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dark souls, which is the case on Earth now. Today we will move on to a new topic, and it will concern your attitude to the things happening on Earth now. Since the transition of Earth to the fifth dimension is not a single stage process, you should possess your soul and patience so as not to retard it with your emotions of discontent. Now everything is at the last final stage, and you only have to slightly push the last carriage of the train, taking away those incapable to make transition to the third dimension worlds. I understand, my dear, how hard it is for you to get used to the thought that in this train there can be a lot of your friends, nearest and dearest, and though you understand it is their conscious choice, still you want them to change their mind at the very last minute and follow you. Yet, now it is absolutely necessary for you to look at the situation from a different angle, and for this we will rely not on their personality or the relationships you are tied with, but only on their energy component that makes this or that contribution both to collective human conscience and to the energy field of Earth in general. As you already know, People and other creatures embodied as humans who generate low vibration energies are the very ballast that pulls your planet back, thereby retarding her transition to the fifth dimension. But as soon as this process is not only inevitable but swift as well, Earth undeliberately throws off this ballast to survive herself. At the subtle level it looks as follows. Your planet is heading for the new energy corridor aimed at her evolution, and only those of you who have succeeded in increasing your vibrations up till her level will remain in her energy space, being attracted to her as if by a magnet, while those whose vibrations fail to keep up with hers are repulsed by the magnet of Earth and are leaving for other worlds they can be attracted to. And here, my dear, no one can influence anything from without this time. In this case, everything occurs automatically in consistence with the law of attraction, and none of your emotions, feelings, considerations, desires or logical arguments can influence this process now. It can be done by a person themselves showing free will and advancing to a new level of their spiritual development, which will help them increase their vibrations and stay in the energy field of the new Earth. Why have I decided to touch upon this issue again? Only because I see that many of you are trying to do everything possible and impossible to pull you close people to your own vibration level. Unfortunately, it often results in the opposite effect. That is, it is not you who pull them up to your level, but they reduce you to theirs. And in my next messages we will talk about what line of behavior you should develop with your nearest and dearest so as to do any harm neither to them, nor to yourselves. Well, let us go on talking about your attitude to everything taking place on Earth now, including your environment. As you see, my dear, despite all your efforts and good intentions, many of your friends, acquaintances and even your nearest and dearest do not hear you and act their own way, which means a lot of suffering and distress for you. If their soul did not respond to the facts so apparent, it means it has decided to leave just this way for some reasons of its own. You are not to know all the twists and turns of this soul life, its dark sides, its ups and downs, because you cannot go below the surface. Unfortunately, few manage to have the insight of another person's soul sense. For the millennia of the third dimension world life, people have learned to conceal their thoughts, emotions and true motives of their behavior. They got used to keeping up to the mark, no matter what is meanwhile going on in their heart. While inside of a person, in their soul, often hell itself is holding sway, and it is impossible for you to imagine the passions so vehement that are raging there. Quite often it is the case that maternal soul itself makes a decision to get rid of its negligent particle that has fallen too low, and it would take it hundreds and thousands of incarnations in the low densities worlds to revive spiritually. Yet, since all the particles of this soul are inseparable, the soul that got astray deliberately influences all the rest that are following their course in an appropriate way. Believe me, my dear, the structure of the human soul is too complex and many-faced for you to realize it so far. That is why, just remember that no one is entitled to meddle in another person's destiny and make them do what is inconsistent with their soul. And it does not matter who this person is to you. They can be your parents, children, spouses or close friends. You have got an expression. The ways of God are inscrutable, and it conveys by far the deepest meaning. Being a particle of the Creator, each soul follows its own route, and you should pay respect to it. Whatever it is, all you can do for the people around you is to share your worldview and the opinion about the events occurring in it. But it should be done in a gentle, tactful and unobtrusive manner, encouraging one to make one's own decision and, consequently, not interfering in one's destiny. Today we have come close to the issue of vital importance to you. How you can maintain energy balance and preserve harmony in your soul when everything happening around is reaching the point of absurdity now. Shortly before, it seemed to many of you that the worst things are over, but with every single day the situation gets from bad to worse, and people are literally prevented from breathing or being the masters of their own destiny. We have already talked a lot why this happens. The wounded beast has nothing to lose and it struggles for its life till the last breath. This is how all low-vibration civilizations' representatives embodied as humans feel now, even if they themselves are not aware of it and simply act according to their collective consciences programs instilled in them. As for the high-ranked dragon reptiles and reptiloids at the helm, they are perfectly aware of the things actually taking place on Earth now and, therefore, act purposefully trying to do everything possible to keep their vibrations at the level that let them survive. For this purpose they create the situations when people generate the low vibration energies of fear, despair, aggression, hopelessness and permanent irritation they need. As a result, society has divided into two unequal parts that can roughly be called the revived and those in dormancy. As you see, my dear, those in dormancy have turned out to be much more numerous than you expected and it is impossible to wake them up now. That is why leave them in the anabiosis of this third dimension matrix and go farther along the road of evolution with your wonderful planet. Many of them are even impossible to wake up by the shocking disclosure of the world government crimes that in the nearest future will start widely to show. They will keep on telling you that it is slander and conspiracy theories fiction as their conscience is totally unprepared to accept anything beyond the program of the third dimension life instilled into them. At the present stage human society can be compared to creatures of a wide range of origin who are closed up in a fold. So now, when the gates of the fold are open wide, they are headed for only by pure and light human souls, while all the rest prefer to remain in the habitual prison of the third dimension world, sometimes unbearable though. Try, my dear, to look at everything in a wise and impartial way and with a touch of good humor, not getting emotionally involved into this natural selection of souls according to vibrations. Trust in the fate and the laws of the universe whose performance features the speed never seen before. Everyone reaps as they have sown and your interference into other people's life can produce a negative effect on you yourself indeed, because it automatically results in violation of these eternal and unshakable laws of the universe.